Hello aspirants, looking at editorials and question bank for 15th December. The first editorial in the Hindu newspaper is Demonetization's Deflationary Shock. So this is regarding CPI and the retail inflation. This news came up on 13th December, 2 days back when we discussed it. So this is the editorial on that news. So retail inflation based on consumer price index. So what is this consumer price index? Is this that the prices of various commodities which consumers consume, so general public consume, so that is called retail inflation. So this gives you an indication of that. So the distribution of various components, you can see this is housing, food and beverages, and other transportation, medical care, recreation. So this is the components of CPI. The various items according to their price variation, CPI is calculated. So on the basis of this, we are seeing that CPI based retail inflation has hit a 2-year low at 3.63% in November 2016. So this is also having the additional factor working of favorable base effect. So base effect means when you're comparing it with something else. So it's a year-on-year calculation. So here you are seeing you're comparing it with last year. So in November 2015, the reading was 5.41%. So since this is high, so compared to that, if you look right now, so the favorable base effect works and CPI has gone further low. So this is driven by food and beverages group. So prices of grains, food and beverages is increasing, so there we are decreasing, so there we are seeing that inflation has gone down. So this is particularly driving this low inflation, retail inflation. So because if inflation is low, then what does the government need to do? What does the RBI need to do? Because now both of them are working together through the Monetary Policy Committee. So Monetary Policy Committee decides the interest rates. The interest rates will reflect how the economy will function. So interest rates, we have all discussed this all in detail earlier. So interest rates, if they go low, that means that interest rates in the economy will also be low, means people would be encouraged to take loans, spur up economic activity. So if inflation rates are quite low, then there is a need that interest rates should go down. But that is not what the RBI did. Because it is seen that inflation or the prices are going down, inflation is going down means prices are going down too in food and beverages, grain sector, but in other sectors like sugar and confectionaries, fish, meat, egg, the prices are persistently at that same level. Even transport and communication, education, the prices remain at the same level. So that is why there is no need to change the interest rates, because if interest rates go low, that means that the economy is brought into activity again to spur up the economy. So then people will, because interest rates with the banks would also go low, so they will take loans, it will spur up economic activity. So loans taken for various productive purposes. So that is the idea how interest rates, benchmark interest rates, that is the repo rate, is determined by the RBI. So this is the idea behind it. Presently, last week we saw Monetary Policy Committee kept the repo rate unchanged. So this is being justified here because this inflation, low inflation which we are seeing, which is the trend which is being seen presently because of even the demonetization effect, that prices are going low. So in that case, inflation levels will go low. So if inflation level goes low, then economy goes into slowdown. So to ensure that the economy does not go into slowdown, it is required that government intervention takes place. RBI reduces the interest rate. So that will helps in economic being spurred up again. So that is not the line of thought presently with the RBI and the Monetary Policy Committee, because RBI is Monetary Policy Committee, which includes now even the government representatives as well as RBI representatives. So we have discussed about Monetary Policy Committee. If you don't know, then do find about it. It is how interest rates will be determined now, not individually with the RBI, but by both members of RBI and the government together. So now the interest rates, in the inflation rate which is low is because of food commodities. So these food and fuel have this inflationary peak cycles. We did yesterday also, core inflation and headline inflation. So core inflation includes all commodities excluding these volatile pricing commodities like food, fuel, which have variations, fluctuations a lot over a small period of time too. So that is why what we are seeing, the unchanged inflation rates or prices of various other commodities justifies the RBI stance that interest rates should remain unchanged. So that is the point put forth. Even RBI's March 2017 target for retail inflation is 5%. So that is what it will stick to. Another point here given is about the crude oil prices. So even crude oil prices are presently rising rather than falling because of OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, which is reducing the production. So since production reduced, more demand, then the prices will rise. So that is the idea behind it. The next editorial in the Hindu newspaper is about cricket, so I have excluded it. The editorial in the Indian Express newspaper today is 1971 in 2016. So this is again regarding the Vijay Divas, the 45th Vijay Divas celebration. We did a question yesterday in the question bank on this. So these are some more points which are added up in this article. So we can just go through them. It is not discussing about India's role in independence of Bangladesh. It is talking about India and Bangladesh relations presently over a period of time. So India played a major role in gaining independence for Bangladesh, but post-independence, how have the relations been? So that is the point highlighted. So one point which it clearly makes is that there are various issues between the two countries, issues related to boundary, issues related to river water sharing. So all these, many of them still remain unresolved, especially with river water sharing. But with land boundary agreement, which was recently finalized and put into effect, is of significance. So you should know about this. We'll discuss it. Here is the land boundary agreement which was finalized a few months ago. So in this land swap, what happened was between India and Bangladesh, there are regions which are enclaves. Now what do you mean by enclaves? I will show you. These are called enclaves, means a territory which is surrounded by another country's territory. So this is an enclave. So what happens is in India you have Bangladeshi territory completely surrounded by India. So this is called an enclave. And then there is something called first order and second order enclaves. Means within an enclave then there is another enclave. So this is India, then this is Bangladesh. Then within this Bangladesh region there is third region which is Indian territory. So these are called first, second, third order enclaves. We had such enclaves between India and Pakistan region, this border region all over. So you can see these were the states in which these. So there is land swap required because these regions then cannot have governance. These people were stateless. They did not have citizenship of India or Bangladesh, because if it is surrounded on all sides by India and that is a Bangladeshi territory, then these people are not regarded by India as Bangladeshi, as Indians, and Bangladesh also does not recognize them. So this was the status of the people living here for so long. So now presently this land swap agreement, it's called land boundary agreement LBA, has been finalized and this land swap is taking place. So this is an interesting thing. The question arises that how did such a thing happen? That how did we have an enclave and an enclave within it? So the idea which is put forth historically, what is known is that there were two Maharajas in this Kuch Bihar region. So this is the point put forth, that this Maharaja of Kuch Bihar and of Rangpur, they used to play these games of card or chess, and in which they would put at stake these territories. So if they win, they would give a part of the territory. So that is how it happened, that if it is a region, in this region the Raja would say that if I win, I will give you a part of this territory. So now this territory is with the other Raja. Then when the other Raja's turn comes, he may take a small part within his territory, which is actually surrounded by the other king's territory. So then that would be one. So this resulted in such complicated arrangements and land boundaries being formed. So now presently this is being swapped. So this land swap agreement is all about this. You can see the number of enclaves in Bangladesh and in India, and the population and area of this region is shown. So this is the land boundary agreement and other points which are put forth. So we'll see what the editorial also says further. So one is dispute over territory, the problem between India and Bangladesh, the issues. So this to some extent with respect to land boundary agreement, some aspect of it is resolved. There is water sharing rights issue. So this is their Teesta water sharing and other which you keep hearing in news. Then illegal immigration, illegal migrants from Bangladesh coming to India. So their rights being preserved. So that is one issue. Cross-border insurgency. So insurgents from India taking safe haven into Bangladesh, and terrorism. So these are the issues which are, key points between India, Bangladesh and need to be resolved. So what is being put forth now is that we have a long international border too. It's 4,096 kilometer international border which India and Bangladesh share. So this as it turns all over, up to down. Even the transit facility we have seen that from West Bengal to Northeast, it does not give us transit facility too for transportation of goods and other commodities. So this is also a problem that Bangladesh does not cooperate. So anyway, we discussed this when we discussed the Sitwe port, which we are developing in Myanmar to bypass Bangladesh and have an access route. So bilateral trade between the two countries also needs to be improved, and they should work internationally at various forums too. So various multilateral forums where they are members apart from SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. The other two groupings in which Bangladesh and India are together is BCIM, Bangladesh, China, India and Myanmar grouping, and another one is BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. So here you have Bangladesh, India, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Thailand, these countries, Nepal, Bhutan, which are part of this BIMSTEC. Then another point highlighted is about investment in Bangladesh. So India needs to increase its investment in Bangladesh because it is a complete close neighbor to India, and the relations go back to even before independence, because it was originally part of India itself. Later it became a part of Bangladesh, a part of Pakistan, and later an independent country. So we have a long history together. Plus China is making inroads here too. So China has extended a loan worth $24 billion to Bangladesh in October 2016, which is 10 times more than what India offers. So there is a need to India bringing in closeness with Bangladesh, having its stake high up here, because this is a close neighborhood. So that is the point highlighted. Even Bangladesh economic growth is high. So there is a huge scope for investment here. So this is regarding the editorial. Next, we look at the question bank. The question which we have picked up from the Hindu newspaper is on the lead article on Scheduled Tribes and Other Tribal Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act of 2006. So this act was passed a decade ago in 2006. So critically analyze its major provisions and its implementation over the decade. Also highlight the significance of the Samta judgment and Niyamgiri judgment on the matter, on forest dwellers' rights. So the first point, history of tribal forest rights, is that during the colonial era, historically, originally the tribals lived in forest and they took care of the forest. So that was a cohabitation, both staying together and compensating for each other's, requirements. But now what is being seen is that since colonial era, the forests were overtaken by the government. So it belongs to the colonial power. So then the tribals were in one shot deprived of their means of survival, existence, and even economic activity. They would collect minor forest produce, so they were dependent on the forest. So this, because once they enter into the forest, they would be called trespassers. So this was the colonial era's regulation, and this continued post-independence too. So the forest department considers tribals as encroaching over the state territory. So they are the original living people living in these forest areas. So you cannot deprive them of their rights in one go. So that is why to negate or to compensate for this historical wrong, India passed this act of 2006. It's called, in short, it is called Forest Rights Act. The way RT, Right to Education, is the short form for the actual act. This is FRA. So this Forest Rights Act was passed in 2006. So what are the major provisions of this act are that it provides ownership to the land. So earlier under the colonial era and post-independence too, forest dwellers and tribal people were not considered owners of the land. So they were considered as encroachers. And the other real encroachers, which the article also says, were mining companies, private power sector companies, irrigation projects, timber paper industries, who take away resources from the forest. They are the actual encroachers. So that is what is the article's point of view, because state governments benefit from this and they allow them to take away resources from the forest for that purpose. And these tribals do not have access to even the minor forest produce. So that is why this Forest Rights Act gives them ownership, title rights. So this title right to land means they can have land which is being farmed by these tribals. If they have been farming these lands as on 13 December 2005, just at the time of passage of the act. So if they were farming at that point of time, they can have title rights. They can get that land in their name, even if it is in forest area. So maximum can be up to 4 hectares. So in this case, it was only for tribals. For non-tribals, other traditional forest dwellers, what happened was they said that if last 3 generations, like over for 75 years, if they have been living occupying that land, then they can get that land. So that resulted in many people being deprived because they could not prove this as such. So this is the one point. Then second right which the Forest Right Act gives is use of minor forest produce. So they can, apart from ownership, they can also use minor forest produce like for grazing, pastoral activities and other minor commodity, forest produce like tendu leaves, etc., which they can collect. Then third point is relief and development rights. So if there is any eviction or forced displacement of these tribal forest dwellers, then they have to be rehabilitated. So that is the third right which they get. And finally, the fourth right is forest management, joint forest management. So they have the responsibility to protect forests and wildlife too along with them. So that is also their management right. So these are the major provisions, rights under FRA, and another significant provision under FRA is role of Gram Sabha. So the Gram Sabha is having the power to pass resolutions recommending whose rights would be on what resources. So it will develop the list, prepare the list of what rights would be recognized and for whom. So which land belongs to whom, how much of the land will that person get. Everything is decided by Gram Sabha. So Gram Sabha was given a prominent role under FRA for its implementation. So these were the provisions. Now what has been happening over the decade too, that there is dilution of these rights which are taking place, and especially so in the recent years. So what we are seeing that in the name of ease of doing business, a lot of land is given away to companies without providing compensation to the forest dwellers. Their rights are being deprived. The land deeds which they should be provided for are not given to them. Judicial cases go ahead. The judiciary in 2015 has also asked all state governments to submit that which land deeds they have given and to whom. So giving that complete detail is what the judiciary is also demanding, the Supreme Court. So this is what we are seeing. So this, even the rights, powers of the Gram Sabha are tried to be reduced, minimized. Even it is bypassed completely in some states. So in some states that is also seen. So in the name of development, like example of Odisha is also there, that Gram Sabhas are completely bypassed. So that is there. So dilution through legislation of this act is one is with respect to Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act, which has been amended. The Compensatory Afforestation Fund Act also, and there are many amendments to the rules under FRA. So all these amendments to the original acts are resulting in dilution of the role of Gram Sabha, which is not in the right order. So that is one aspect. Plus, already there is one requirement put forth, that the requirement of public hearing, one amendment put forth, that the requirement of public hearing and Gram Sabha consent has been completely done away with for mid-sized coal mines. So government wants industries to be established, and it feels this role to Gram Sabha is delaying that process. So it does not want Gram Sabha to play any role, but it is a constitutional body and it is direct representation, direct democracy in function. People themselves are part of this Gram Sabha. All the electorate, all people who are eligible to vote are part of the Gram Sabha. So these people deciding for themselves is the right way to go ahead in a democracy, but government says no, they should not be, because it delays the process, it results in confusion. So decisions do not come forth. So that is the government stance, bypassing them. Then another is about policy too. So like National Board for Wildlife, which is the body chaired by the Prime Minister himself. This has been reconstituted presently. Number of independent experts have been reduced. So this also shows that the seriousness about protection of wildlife is low rather than increasing business in forest regions, through forest regions. So that is the point highlighted. Then about the two judgments which were being discussed, the first judgment is of 1997, Samta judgment. So this is before the Forest Rights Act of 2006, which we are discussing right now. So earlier the act was Forest Protection Act of 1980. So this was based on that, and even Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act, this is 1960s Act. So this Samta was a non-government organization, an NGO which was functioning in Andhra Pradesh, and it saw that many tribals were deprived of their land and were not given due compensation. So it went into through the judicial process, reached up to Supreme Court, and in 1997 Supreme Court gave its judgment that all the transfer of land in the scheduled areas to private mining companies is null and void. It cannot be done. It belongs to the forest dwellers and it should come back to them. So it prohibited mining in reserved areas where scheduled tribes live. So this was a development, and this was majorly the judgment, and the ruling was based on the question of the person, that there is a provision in the Mines and Mineral Development Act that no person should be allowed to mine in reserved areas. But then the government said that this person did not include government. So if government wants to undertake this activity or allow anybody to undertake this activity, it should be allowed. But the Supreme Court said no, even the person includes the government, even government cannot be allowed. So that was the ruling in the Samta case. So it even emphasized on the powers of the Gram Sabha, that the Gram Sabha has to decide whether what people should be allowed, what rights should be given to whom. So this is also PESA Act, Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act, under which Gram Sabhas are the competent authority to preserve and safeguard community resources. So this was also reiterated in his argument. And next is Niyamgari judgment of 2013. So this was in Odisha. The Vedanta Group mining company. So this bauxite mining project was initiated here, and Odisha government gave it approval bypassing the Gram Sabha. So that is why the court came up with its judgment, and in this the Supreme Court said that Forest Rights Act, PESA Act both provide for the Gram Sabha to play a significant role, and that cannot be bypassed. So that again here in this case too, the rights of the Gram Sabha and the forest tribal dwellers was upheld. So according to PESA, if land is to be acquired for development project, then it is mandatory to obtain the consent of concerned Gram Sabha, who is responsible to prevent the alienation of land. So this was bypassed, and the Odisha government argued that this is required to allow companies to function, because Gram Sabha delays the process. So Gram Sabha is a government body, then even is a constitutional body, then we are also a body by constitutional mandate. So we should have a right to bypass Gram Sabha, but the Supreme Court said no. So thus we see that the rights of forest dwellers have been upheld. The powers of Gram Sabha have been upheld by the Supreme Court in these judgments. So this is regarding CAMPA also, Compensatory Afforestation Fund as such, which has been established on the advice of the Supreme Court. So then this act is being passed presently. So this bill is still under consideration. So it will provide for each industry which has been established, they have to pay this fund. If forests are cut down, trees are fell, then they have to pay compensation for that. So this value amount is to be paid, and this goes into this fund. So this entire fund which has been accumulated over the years has not been formalized. So this presently the government is regulating this through a bill, and this under this 90% of the collected payment will go to state funds and 10% to the national fund, and this will be used to for regulation. The states will make the allocations, and for what purpose they make, for afforestation purpose, that will be decided. So funds can be used for 4 specific purposes. Even this is criticized, that increasing forest cover is of course important. Forest regeneration is one aspect, wildlife protection and other related activities to protect green cover. So it should be made sure that this is not diverted for any other purpose. Even afforestation which takes place should be in forest areas in regions where it will last, rather than in other secluded regions where it does not make any sense. So all that safeguards also required. So we'll have to wait and watch how this comes into effect. For compensatory afforestation fund, there is a complete question which in detail is discussed in August in the question bank section. I have provided the link here, so you can go up here and discuss and read up the whole question. So this is regarding major provisions of compensatory afforestation fund bill and its contentious provisions. So this is a complete detail. You can go through this up here. The next is regarding the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act. So for this also, Act of 1957, this was amended through an ordinance. So ordinance was promulgated because it was seen that many industries were not able to undertake projects. The projects were being delayed because of provisions under this act. So make it to fast track the process of procurement for various purposes, it was decided to amend this act. So this amendment again is seen that what is there. So MMDR Act presently allows transfer of leases where the mines have been acquired through auction. So after the amendment, transfer of leases will be allowed for those mines that have been allocated. So acquired through auction also, and allocation also you can transfer. So only auction could be transferred. Now then, so this will be mergers and acquisitions which take place, so that will become easier and they can acquire these mines. So there are various provisions under this MMDR Act which are being changed to facilitate the industries. Then this is regarding PESA. So under PESA also it is seen that Gram Sabha will have the power to approve plans in these scheduled areas. So Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act. So this scheduled areas, the Gram Sabha will approve all plans. It will be identify the beneficiaries and it will exercise command over all the natural resources. So that is regarding the various provisions which you should know about. So PESA, KAMPA, they are often in news. MMDR is also quite often in news because of the amendment presently. So you should study them in detail. So this is it for today. Thank you so much.